So I'm presenting all these sections. So the authors said in the introduction that they have an holistic approach that incorporate practices and theories of feminism and abolition. And they do that in order to create a transformative justice that promote community practices of accountability. So, for example, they talk about Berlin Transformative Justice Collective, in which they share tactics and strategies against gendered and sexual violence. These tactics can be used without calling the police. That's important. So this is how you see the combination of abolition, so without police, without prisons, and still feminist ideas, so fighting against gendered violence. So you see that on page 6, if you have the paper version of the book. And another example is queer and trans networks, in which they share how ways to guarantee their security without calling the police. And you have also workshops in New Zealand, in which they share also tools to solve conflicts without calling law enforcement. So this is what this section is about. And to me, some red flags are that when you are in a coalition, you are forced to make connections between oppressions. So they talk about Mari Matsuda in page 3. Maybe I can give you the quotation. So page 3, she said, the way I try to understand the interconnection of all forms of subordination is through a method I call ask the other question. When I see something that looks racist, I ask, where is the patriarchy in this? When I see something that looks sexist, I ask, where is the heterosexism in this? I think that you have to be careful. When you say you want to make connections between oppression, is it because you really want to find the truth, or is it because you have pragmatic reasons? So you want to make coalitions, you want to enter into bigger coalitions, you want to have more resources, so that's why you make connections when maybe there's no connections, as for example, anti-Black racism. So maybe it's a pragmatic truth, the truth of there is a connection between racism and race. Maybe it's just pragmatic, it's not really the reality. Yeah, not saying that there's no connection, but when you are forcing yourself to make connection, this is to me a red flag. And also maybe you will find this book, this part of the book a little bit long for no reason, because it lacks a little bit of concisiveness. That's a little bit, a little problem. But on a positive note, I wanted to tell you to look at that quotation. We mobilize in outrage against the rape of another woman and reject increasing policing as the response. This says that in page 3. And I think that it seems that this quotation represents everything that they are trying to communicate in this book. So the contradiction, so you want to fight against domestic violence, for example. So when a husband beat up his wife, you want some kind of punishment, you want some kind of justice for the wife. But they say, yes, we want that the husband is held accountable, but we don't want him to go to jail. We don't want to call the police against him. So I think that's very interesting to navigate in this contradiction, these conflicting desires. Yeah. Okay, and so also I wanted to apologize for my voice. It's maybe I talk too loud. It's because I'm drinking coffee. I try to control my voice. So in the section Why Us, the author explains that they don't have the same expertise and they academically, and they do not live in the same area in the US, but they feel that they are qualified to write this book together because they are educators and they are organizers implicated in projects that aims to abolish prison and policing. So Angela Davis, of course, as we said last time, she's the co-founder of Critical Resistance. So they talk about that in page 10 of the paper version of the book. Beth Irichie is the founder of Insight. So it's a movement that fights against gendered and sexual violence. Gina Dent is also involved in Critical Resistance, and Erica is also involved in Critical Resistance. So Beth, Gina, and Angela were in conversation since the end of the 90s. So they talk about their ideas when they saw each other in organizations and delegations. So they said that in page 11. And Erica joined the group 10 years after. So they know each other very well. And what unites them is feminist abolition in theory and in practice. So this part of the text is, maybe you will find it's a little bit self-indulgent with anecdotes. For example, in page 11, what do they say? So for example, they say, we persisted through domestic unpredictability, insufficient bandwidth, tornadoes, new puppies, forest fires, caregiving demands. So this is irrelevant to what they are talking about. So it's self-indulgent. And I just wanted to say that because I do not recognize Angela Davis in this part of the text. That's not how she used to talk. She's always, to me, she's always straightforward. It's just a little remark. It's not really important. So in page 15, the authors say that the challenge for this project is to be visionary and practical. And they have chosen to use a utopian approach. But because they do that, they are accused, they have this naive image. And also people say that they are extremist and zealous, and also that they lack pragmatism. But still, because they read Octavia Butler, Fannie Lou Hamer, they think that if they do not name what they are imagining, they will never be able to get it one day. So, but in the same time, if you want to maintain this radical vision in life, in daily life, you need a collective. Because with a collective, you are able to create networks and communities that share resources, tools, opportunities to learn. They say that in page 13 and 14. So the feminist abolition perspective has an utopian approach. And so they also talk about, what I found very compelling is they talk about the fugitive. So they say community is a radical vision, a fugitive possibility, and a struggle. So when you talk about fugitive, you talk about maroons. So it's still the same idea that abolition is liberation from slavery, just like the fugitive try to get out of slavery and build their own community. So they keep this, that same intuition, which I find compelling. But the thing is, you have to think about all the implications that come with this idea of fugitive. So fugitive means also violence, and fugitive does not necessarily mean that they have to provide a vision. So that's my question. Do they have to put all this effort on vision instead of on liberation and just to get out of that slavery. So do they really have to provide alternatives? So to me, it's a waste of time. And my question is whether this waste of time is calculated. So you act like you are doing something, you're moving around, you create organization, you call people. So you say you have a vision, but you are wasting your time on creating that vision instead of liberating your brothers and sisters. That's just a question I'm asking myself. So we are in the last section, why now? So the authors are saying that they were inspired by recent uprisings in the US. For example, the movement for Breonna Taylor. And also they were inspired by the long history of daily struggles of Black, brown, immigrant, and I use their words, that's not how I talk. Okay, so Black, brown, immigrant, queer, indigenous people for food safety, fair wages, right to vote. So you see there are a lot of elements that you can usually find in political philosophy definitions of self-determination. So you see that in page 26, 27. And for them, they see that it is important for them to show that the local mobilization that you see in the US have global tentacles. So for example, you have Black police officers in South Africa that who are as racist or as anti-Black as white officers in Montreal and London. So they say that in page 23. So so the book shows this connection that you can make in the word. So yes, did I forget something? I think my only question is about we know the names of George Floyd and the sorry, I speak too loud. Oh no. I'm not sure if you were able to listen to me. Okay. So they say we know the names of George Floyd and the other male victims of police violence, but we do not know the names of the woman as victim of interpersonal and state violence. So they say that in page 18, 19. It's not a quotation, it's just me summarizing. And so this is an idea that you see also in Judith Butler's book. They do not quote that, but I just happen to know. So Judith Butler, The Force of Nonviolence. So she says that the report Say Her Name, published in July 2015, makes clear that nearly all of the main examples in the media illustrating police violence against Black people in the US involve Black men, establishing that the dominant frames for understanding anti-Black racism and police violence operate within a restrictive gender framing. Okay, so she said that in page 118, 119, Judith Butler, okay? So the idea is that they are saying that the violence against Black males is recognized and visible, but the violence against Black women is invisible. That's something that is not necessarily accurate. If you read Tommy Curry, Black Male Studies, so what is not recognized is by these authors is that Black males are still the main victims of police violence. And we talk about, so they are the majority of the victims killed by the police. And also what we do not talk about is the sexual violence that police officers do on Black males. So this stop and frisk and this raping, they rape Black males in the carceral systems. I'm not talking about prisoners raping Black males. I'm talking about guardians, law enforcement. So this is something we do not talk about. So I just think it's very convenient to talk about violence against women, because women Black women are not hated as much as Black men. Black men, there is this phobia against Black men. So Black men are associated with rape and prisons. So nobody care about Black men. So it's very convenient for alliance coalitions, if they want resources and if they want bigger coalitions, to talk about women instead of Black men, because nobody cares about Black men. Okay. And especially if you want some sponsorship from big corporations like Walmart, like Black Lives Matter, who are abolitionist group. So it's better, if you want more money, to talk about women instead of men, Black men. Okay, that's my observation or question.